And they're going to snap it, and it's Trey Burton who throws caught. Foles, touchdown.
Here he goes. It's Hester inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown.
Fields stumbling, trying to cut it back. Justin Fields making magic happen. There goes Fields. Touchdown.
Punch on first down, fires downfield. It's Deshaun Jackson back in the lineup. Missed the last 7 games, and he will take it 81 yards. A somersault into the end zone. His first touchdown of the season.
You're listening to The Pigskin Project, the world's #1 football podcast. Now, with more insights on all things football, here are your hosts, Ben Hansen and Ryan Matthews. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 99th installment of The Pigskin Project, where, just utter chaos from the divisional round. Way better playoff games, I would say, much closer and everything. I enjoyed every bit of this weekend, but Ben, first off, how you doing? Second off, what'd you think of the games this weekend?
Real quick with the games. Every game outside of that Texans-Ravens game was a fun game to watch. And honestly, you look at the box score of the Texans-Ravens game, they'll say 10-34, and you're like, that was a blowout. That game was close. It was a nail-biter until like the last 5 minutes of the game. It was even a good game. The games were amazing this week. The divisional rounds always we see the talent get better and the worst teams kind of get weeded out, and we don't see a 9-32 loss like we did in the wild card round. But no, the games were great. Hopefully the games this weekend will be just as good. And I'm doing great, man. Again, school started up. I'm now 3 weeks into it. I'm getting back into the swing of things and everything. Tomorrow is going to be my 4-year anniversary, so we're feeling good. We're feeling good, man.
Awesome. Yeah. And if you weren't listening all the way through from last week's episode, you wouldn't know, but now you would. Ben and I, as well as a couple other people, are going to be going to the NFL Scouting Combine this year. Again, 3rd straight year. Starting to kind of solidify some plans. It's going to be a lot of fun. So follow us on all of our socials for all the content that we will put out as much as possible during this trip. So anyway, should we get into this weekly news? Because I have a lot of points to talk about.
Yeah, we can get into it.
Ryan and Ben bring you weekly news.
So the NFL and the city of Indianapolis have agreed to a deal that will keep the scouting combine at Lucas Oil for just one more year, just extending that contract just one more year. It's staying where it needs to be. Yeah. So we're at least solidified for 2025 as well. That's huge. That's something that I'd like to kind of keep in the folds when it comes to our traditions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So very, very excited for that. In the world of college football, there's only one headline that I'd like to talk about for right now.
I want to talk about it.
We're not there yet. Ohio State's hiring former Patriots offensive coordinator Bill O'Brien as their next offensive coordinator. At first I was like, man, I really hate this move. Like, I'm not a Bill O'Brien guy. Like, this guy sucks, blah, blah. And then I was like, he actually has a really good track record in college, so I'm actually really okay with it now. So, but you could probably tell us a little bit more about the college football Bill O'Brien, though.
Yeah, so Bill O'Brien is mainly known for his time there at Alabama with Nick Saban, and then also his time there at Penn State. He was the guy there at Penn State before James Franklin. And then he got hired straight from Penn State over to the Texans, where he kind of crashed and burned. But other than that, he's actually a really good college coach. The thing that's thrown me off about that, though, is not Brian Hartline. For those who don't know, Brian Hartline is the wide receiver coach for OSU. And, I mean, you think of the wide receivers that have just come through there the past couple of years. You got JSN, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, I'm forgetting one more, Marvin Harrison, Julian Flemings, he's no longer there. Mbuke, who is staying for another year, but at one point was viewed as a first-round talent. Yeah, and at one point was viewed as a first-round talent. So, I mean, year after year after year after year after year, this dude is putting out guys that are going in the first round, sometimes numerous guys in the first round with Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. And then the best wide receiver prospect we've seen in generation. You know, I don't want to say ever, but one of the better wide receiver prospects we have ever seen in the history of the sport. So honestly, I'm surprised that it wasn't Brian Hartline who got it. Just, you know, give him that extra bump. So you've done a good job. You've done actually an amazing job. Let's give you the bump. But you know, at the end of the day, Bob is not isn't bad. So
yeah, I definitely agree. Next up is the inevitable news that you don't want to discuss. The Chargers are hiring Jim Harbaugh as their next head coach. Let me just speak a little bit of piece on this, just because everybody knows at this point from the season, I'm a closeted Charger fan that may not be even closeted anymore, just because, you know, I've talked about it so much. This is so good for Justin Herbert, and I am so happy for him that he has a competent head coach. I've watched so many different TikToks about Brandon Staley and how much of a moron he was. You know, it's so bad. But looking at it now, you know, you should have an offense that's pretty high powered, assuming that somehow, some way they can retain Austin Eckler on like a short-term deal. If not, you know, figure out a move, get a decent, you know, running back in there as well. But I mean, the Chargers are very high powered now. I'm very excited about the future regarding Jim Harbaugh and the winning culture that he brings with that as well. So very excited for the Chargers. But what's your take on it as a Michigan fan though?
Yeah,
are you ready?
Actuality.
Are you ready for the rumors to come out that Jim Harbaugh's escaping the NCAA and their their factors when it comes down to cheaters and not cheaters, and that national championship getting, you know, swiped away from you because you're a cheater. Anyways,
that's so dumb. Anyone who actually believes it doesn't actually know ball, is a certified not ball knower. And that's just a term
like
we're going to be using on the podcast. Yeah, like Ryan, exactly. That's just a term we're going to be using on the podcast now. So just so you guys are fully aware. But he was at the top of his sport. Sorry guys, my computer's wigging out here. He was at the top of at the level he was at. He won the Natty. Good for him to go. I mean, it was something that was inevitable. If you're a Bears fan, I have a couple friends that are Bears fans that go to IU here, and they were just as disappointed as I was, if not more, because they were like, you know, I wish he would have stayed another year, and then hopefully the Bears would have been able to poach him in the next hiring cycle.
Because you know full well that Eberflus isn't staying next year. Like, it's just not going to happen.
It's just not. Yeah.
So
yeah. But, you know, it sucks to see him go. We already have the incumbent. Like, the incumbent's already here. It's going to be our head coach. The dude who was acting head coach when he was gone, who beat OSU, who beat Penn, who beat Iowa. Like, so he's going to be the guy. The recruits already came out, and most of them have already, like, within like 2 or 3 hours that this news has been out, most of the recruits have come out and said, like, yeah, like, we've kind of known that this has been what was going to happen, and we're riding with Sherrone Moore. It sucks to see it, and a lot of the guys here, I would be surprised if we have a lot of dudes enter the transfer portal. The only thing that sucks is by law, because it's some like silly law they have in Michigan. They have to keep the opening, or they have to keep like the job open for 7 days before they can hire Sherrone Moore. That scares me a little bit. But outside of that, I mean, again, it's going to be Sherrone Moore. The recruits are already backing him up. The current guys are already backing him up. It hurts to see Jim go, but we're always going to root for him. And it really seems like he's gonna turn that franchise around. Hopefully, you know, work with hopefully a top 5-ish quarterback. I might put some money on Herbert winning MVP next year, especially if they take Malik Neighbors. And I don't know if you're planning on getting into it. The interesting thing that's going to come out of this is now where's Bill Belichick going to go? Because the rumors 2 days ago or 3 days ago was that his interest in the Falcons has cooled off. Do we see him just not do we see him sit out a year and jump into the coaching cycle next year? Does he take the Falcons job? Or like, so it'll be interesting to go, because 2 months ago, if you would have asked anyone, everyone would have said he's going to be the next Chargers head coach.
And I mean, that's also something that I'd like to talk about as well, just because, there's so many good candidates out there, considering Pete Carroll's still available and he wants to go coach. Matt Vrabel is definitely a very qualified guy. Dan Quinn is definitely another qualified guy. Yes, him as well. Bill Belichick, though, is definitely my number one candidate if I'm hiring anybody. So when you talk about, these teams such as the Raiders, and I understand like players were very much, vouching for him and stuff like that, but Antonio Pierce getting retained as their permanent head coach going into the season. And then, the Titans hiring Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan as their next head coach as well. You start to wonder if these teams really did their due diligence or not on these head coaching candidates. Now, I think that, Antonio Pierce turned the team around a little bit. He's got their morale up and everything like that. He did a good job, but is it good enough to where he can compete with a Bill Belichick or, Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan, another guy that, I mean, he made a backup quarterback look just as good, or, at least capable of being a quarterback that can take you to the playoffs. And, the Titans, for one, let me just say this. Because of that whole Bengals thing, I'm very excited to see where Will Levis goes with this new head coach. But, I mean, any offensive guy, if you've got an offensive guy and you've got a young quarterback and you have that offensive guy come in and being your head coach, I'm excited about where that's going to take, strictly because that's never happened to me as a Bears fan. Like I said, you really start to question whether or not these teams start to do their due diligence or not with all these big head coaching candidates available. My last point is that, whether or not these old guys still got it, because the game is still evolving. You look at Bill Belichick and what he's been able to do with the Patriots, despite the fact that their quarterback really hasn't been all that great. They had a good defense last year, but they still let the Bears, who finished last in the league, drop 40 on them. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Bears fan. I'm just saying that's embarrassing because that offense was horrible. And it's like, Pete Carroll, like, I still think he's a good coach, but it's like, how many years can you get out of these guys, compared to younger guys that can let the game, evolve and stuff like that. And you can win more with them over a longer period, because if you hire a Pete Carroll, where it's like, this dude might have about 5 more years left as a head coach. Do you want 5 or do you want 10 to 15, maybe even 20 out of somebody if it goes well? You know what I mean? But I'll let you have the floor now.
No, of like the older guys, between, like, I don't think Pete Carroll is getting a job anywhere. At least as a head coach, I'd be really surprised. The only like kind of buzz we got from that was the Chargers, and as we see today, obviously Pete Carroll's not going to get that Chargers job,
right?
The teams are definitely doing their due diligence. As far as AP Antonio Pierce goes, I think it was just a culture fit more than anything. Kind of like the MC, like Dan Campbell. I keep referring to him as MCDC. But like the Dan Campbell, I just think it was a culture fit there more than anything. He's just a guy that really knows how to get his players up. And also I think like a lot of the players vouch for him. Like Max Crosby is like, unless it's Antonio Pierce, I don't want to play. Basically is what he came out and said. So it makes sense why they did that. But exactly, I mean, you want to go out and you want to get that young offensive mind to be your next head coach. And like I said, the thing with Bill Belichick is I wouldn't be surprised if he sits out a year, because so the rumor right now is the Commanders are like that close to finishing a deal with Ben Johnson, which would suck. I would hate Ben Johnson going to the Commanders. And then the other hot name too for the Falcons is Bobby. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if Bobby goes to the Falcons and Ben goes to the Commanders, and then that leaves you with the opening with the Seahawks job. I could see them going Bill Belichick, but I think it'd throw me off. Dan Campbell's kind of the vibes I'm getting from him. But then there's one more job opening. I'm blanking on the last one, guys. There's so many job openings. It's hard to, it's hard to even tell. But it just, I think we're
Panthers.
phasing out kind of these.
That's what you're talking.
The Panthers. That's who it was. There it is. And there's no way he's going to the Panthers.
That's like a
So
last resort for literally anybody, because this team is just so horribly built and they're not going to be any better. You've got a quarterback that hasn't really proven all that much, but like he's got a little bit of potential, but he's got nothing. It's like I don't know. He's that meme where they've got like a Maserati parked right into like a trailer or something like that. You know what I mean? It's just like that. It's not, the greatest situation to be in.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Of the opening jobs left, I think, I would be surprised if Mike took the Panthers job. I think Mike might even pull like a Doug Peterson, sit out a year, and then find that appealing job, just like Doug did with the Jags.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Mike did that. There's so much going on, and again, teams are trying to stray away from the old head guys that are like kind of like grizzled and set in their ways. And there's one more coach that is grizzled and set in their ways, and I'm 100% sure we will talk about him on this episode. So I'm going to leave that for, I'm sure, is coming up. So
next up is that Nick Sirianni, despite your wishes, will stay the head coach of the Eagles as it looks. However, the coaching staff around him has been fired. Vic Fangio, although nothing is completely like set onto stone, nothing has been signed yet. It is imminent that a deal will be made in Philadelphia to keep Vic Fangio in the building as defensive coordinator after he parted ways with Miami today, which leads me to think it's a little fishy because of how quick everything went. You know what I mean?
Well,
but I don't know exactly how everything went. You know what I mean? I don't know how things are in this league.
I think it was something that was already kind of like kind of put behind, and this was the old grizzled guy that was stuck in his ways, and Vic Fangio's who was referring to. So the Eagles were supposed to have their press conference at 2:30 today, and they showed up like 45 minutes late. They didn't start their press conference until like 3:15. And I think it was by no surprise that at 3:20, 5 minutes after the Eagles started their thing, after being 45 minutes late, that this news dropped. I think it lined up for a reason. Like you said, it's really weird, kind of like the timing there. And then the Eagles, I mean, they've come out saying they're still going to do their due diligence. And some places are saying like they're still going to look, and they still do have to at least interview 2 more minority coaches because of the Rooney Rule. So it's not going to come out for a little bit, but it seems like it's going to be that way. Some places are reporting it's already done. Some places are reporting they're still going to do stuff. I'm going to go ahead and I don't want to say pretty. I'm going to say pretty confidently say it's Vic. I have mixed feelings. He's a guy I've wanted. We've been running the Vic Fangio defense. And honestly, the main reason I'm excited for him, if we hire him, is because for him to succeed, he needs good linebackers. And I haven't seen a good linebacker play in Philadelphia in a very, very, very long time. So I'm just excited for some good linebacker play. But again, I mean, he was the architect of one of the best defenses that we've seen in the last like 20 years. I mean, there was a period in time where like over half the guys running like or calling defenses were like disciples of Vic Fangio. There are questions about whether or not his defense is still going to work in today's age. But I think if he comes in and calls a good defense, and he can, the whole Vic Fangio thing, for those who don't know, he plays cover too high. He's just trying to prevent those like long, 30, 40-yard pass plays. And he does a pretty gosh darn good job at it. And if the Eagles defense can like hold someone to like 10, 12, 13-yard or 13 play drives, the Eagles defensive line is going to wreak some havoc. So I'm excited for it. We'll get into the 2 other options. I kind of want a defensive coordinator a little bit later in a different segment today. But it was kind of interesting. And then as far as the DC goes there, I guess McDaniel and Staley have like a really, really good like connection relationship with one another. So I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Staley gets hired as the DC there. And then Raheem Morris, the DC at the Rams, where Staley originally came from, is actually also getting head coaching interviews. So I wouldn't be surprised if Staley is a DC coordinator next year. So
This one's a little bit more exciting for me as a fan because this is somebody that I really wanted. The Bears have hired former Seahawks offensive coordinator Shane Waldron as their next offensive coordinator. This is exactly the move that needed to be made. Seahawks fans aren't really a big fan of him, but the thing is like, okay, who was Geno Smith before Seattle? You know what I mean? Like that was probably like his biggest highlight. But other than that, I started taking a deep dive into what his scheme is. And, without going too into detail, just because the casual fan doesn't really know, terminology and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's funky. It's weird. And it's going to throw you off. The way that it looks, they'll line people up in spots that traditionally aren't normally lined up in. And it throws off defenses left and right. I do believe in this offense, you're going to see a lot more Roshan Johnson as like a secondary back. But he's got a lot. And not only that, he likes to spread out his wide receivers a little bit more. Something that Luke Getsy did not like to do is go straight, like, 4 spread full out, wide receivers. But now this is something that we can kind of dive into. This is an offense in which, believe it or not, despite all the hate that I've given this guy, I am very excited to see what Velus Jones Jr. can do in this offense. I think that despite the fact that he is a little bit older and whatnot, he is still a quick receiver. And I think on these sweep plays that he can draw up and everything. Yeah, Tyler Scott can definitely do it too. But like, we have resources for this. And I think that it's a good fit. And so I'm excited about that. The Jaguars are also planning to hire former Falcons defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen as their new defensive coordinator. Also not a bad move for the Jaguars. I think that, the Falcons had a sneaky decent defense, despite the fact, for Bears fans listening, I know it looked bad, but I promise you it's better than what it seems.
Yes.
And I think the Jaguars, their biggest, at least, top 3 problems with that team was, the fact that their defense kind of sucked. So, this is something to be excited about if you're a Jaguars fan. And then that's it for the coaching news, basically. I've got 3 player headlines as well. This is something. Oh no, I'm sorry. One of them will excite you as an Eagles fan, hopefully. The Packers are prepared and expected to make Jordan Love one of the league's highest paid quarterbacks.
And Joe Barry, their DC, got fired too, by the way.
Joe Barry did get fired. I forgot that. Thank you for making that a point. But yeah, Jordan Love, believe it or not, like as good as he was towards the end of the season and everything like that. Am I crazy to think that making him one of the league's highest paid quarterbacks might be a little premature? Like we've only given him 1 year, like for me, like, as a putting myself in the executive mind, it's not even me being a Packers hater. Because if you follow me on Twitter, you've seen the tweets and everything. Towards the end of the season, I've legitimately said, like, it's not fair. Like, Jordan Love is a good quarterback. Like, it sucks to say. In the preseason, I wouldn't have believed myself here. But, looking at this, it's like, okay, you've given your guy 1 year worth of experience. And are you really willing to lock him down long-term at a very high amount, despite the fact that you guys have been in – cap space hell for the last couple of years. You know what I mean? It's been pretty bad. So it's a little risky of a move, might I say so, just because he's entering the last year of his actual contract extension this year. But, I don't know, making him one of the league's highest paid quarterbacks. I just don't put him up there just yet with like the Burrows and Herberts and, not yet. Next year, maybe, but like not yet. Like he's right on the outskirts.
That's the thing with the quarterback. If you're not going to pay him like that, someone else in the league will. So you have to. You have to be early rather than be late, because if you're not going to pay him like that, there is going to be a team somewhere in the NFL that will. So might as well keep your guy in the building. And I mean, you hope that he continues to develop the way that he does, because if he does, then the contract might be worth it. But it's one of those things you just can't let him walk out the door. And if the Giants are willing to pay Daniel Jones what they pay Daniel Jones, you bet your Skippy that I would pay Jordan Love what he wants, or even the Daniel Jones contract, because he's 10 times the quarterback Daniel Jones was.
For sure. My thing is this. The only way that this is a smart move is if the Packers are paying Jordan Love and capitalizing on the fact that he's not one of those top guys yet. And they're hoping that he becomes one of those top guys, but he's not going to get paid like one because he's not performing like that. So that when he does perform like one, he's performing on that smaller price tag. You know what I mean?
Well, and I get what you're saying, but what do you do if you don't pay him? You're kind of stuck in a situation that you do have to pay him no matter what. It's kind of one of those situations
where you're right now.
Well, no, not right now, but you're going to have to
him and extend him later on.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the tagging him is going to be just as much as what it would be for a long-term contract anyways.
Kyle Gagliardi coming back saying, Pack is back. The Bears still suck. For now. Yeah, for now. It's going to be, believe it or not, no matter, I believe that if the Bears end up drafting Caleb Williams, this will be a Bears and Packers competitive division for the long term. Anyways, we'll get back to the Packers in just a second. Your boy, tight end, Zach Ertz has agreed to a deal with the Detroit Lions. Good for him. Hope that he advances to the Super Bowl after this upcoming weekend. But, who knows? And then Packers corner, this is the part that should excite you. Packers corner Jair Alexander posted what seemed to be a farewell to Packers fans, and Eagles fans should be on the edge of their seats hoping to God he requests a trade of some sort. Jair Alexander would be an instant upgrade to that secondary, despite the fact that I really don't like him as a person. He's still a decent quarterback. If he's still one of the best, I'm not going to say it. I'll be honest with you. I just don't like him that much.
Packers fans, offer you guys 2 second-round picks and James Bradbury, and you're gonna like it.
I'll accept that on behalf of Packers. Let's see. Yeah.
In all actuality, I'd trade my first round. I would trade my first round pick for him. I would look to try to dump some.
I don't think he's first round material anyway.
If you're dumping one of Slay or James' contracts, I think it's worth it with how bad it is, and again we'll get over kind of my fix and everything. See. You say that, and he very well could just be reflecting on his time. But yeah, he was talking about like how it was 6 wonderful years in Green Bay, and he thanked everyone that was a part of it and everything. And maybe he knew something about Joe Barry or something before we did. And I think it's more likely than not that he is just going to stay and he's kind of just thanking people. But again, I'll give you my first round pick, Kyle. Well, we'll have to see if Kool-Aid's there. Well, we'll have to see what cornerbacks are on the board when there had to be a day of the draft, like a draft day thing. Like, oh, there's no one left. Here you go. But if Kool-Aid's there,
yeah, he's coming in and saying he's done these posts before. Well,
yeah, delusional.
Like we are football media. Okay, this is football media. We cover speculation. Right? Get out of here. Yeah, he's gone.
They say winning isn't everything, and that may be true in some cases, but right now, let's make some money. It's time for Pigskin Payout.
Nice. Let's get it started. So I'll be honest with you, I completely forgot to do this. So while you were talking halfway through weekly news, I was putting my stuff together. And I'll be honest with you, this is a 6-leg parlay, 3 legs each game that I feel very confident about, actually. Do you want me to start? I want to.
I didn't have since there were only 2 games, I was just gonna let you make one.
Okay, all right, no problem. So Chiefs at Ravens over 44.5 total points. Okay. I like that. Lamar Jackson over 207.5 passing yards. I feel like 200 is an easy benchmark for elite quarterbacks. That's why
he's hit it. But the Chiefs' defense is amazing, and he's obviously been really good in the ground. I think it's a solid line. I'm not going to say I don't like it, but it's a good line. I think I'd prefer the over, but it's not. It's nothing that I'd throw in there and be like, yes.
Yeah, this one's risky just because of how much of a threat he was last game. Travis Kelce under 62.5 receiving yards. With that linebacker core. Exactly. That's exactly where my mind went. So that's the Chiefs and Ravens game. This is the Lions and 49ers. Under 50.5 total points. I think this is either going to be ridiculously close or it's going to be a blowout. And if it's a blowout, it's not going to be 50 total points. It'll be like 30 something to like 10. So it'll be really close to that line, but I don't think it's going to hit quite 50 and a half. CMC over 87 and a half rushing yards. This one pretty much always hits. It is. Yeah. Rushing yards. The thing is like Lions rushing defense has been pretty decent. The only
second in the league.
It is. Yeah. But the thing is that it's also CMC. So, and then George Kittle over 62 and a half receiving yards. I expect George Kittle to have a big day. Linebackers don't impress me in Detroit. So I didn't have the exact odds for, the parlay down, but 6 legs typically pays out pretty well. And I know majority of these are around the minus 100, minus 120 kind of range for all of these. So I would expect it to be in the plus 1100s or something like that if you guys want to go ahead and do that. But please do not gamble irresponsibly. We are not responsible for your losses. So if you guys do not like losing parlays, don't necessarily listen to us just because anything could happen at this point. It's not the fact that we're bad at it, but it's just anything could happen. We're not responsible for your losses. Speaking of losses, Kyle, good game, man. How's my $20 still in your wallet? Anyways, all right, let's go ahead and get started right in with Pigskin Pick'em for the conference championships.
You think you know football? Well, prove it. This is Pigskin Pick'em.
All right, so my playoff record does not match up to yours at all. I'm only 3-7. I've taken a couple extra risks just because it's like, I didn't really figure that I would be keeping track of this. You're 6-4, so not bad. And then Kyle, as of, 2 weeks ago, he actually went 3-3 as well. So, if he's still listening, that's how he was. I don't think we noted that last week, but not bad. So this is the week we decide the Super Bowl and who's going to be in it. Will the colors Super Bowl match the teams this year? Ben, what do you think? Who do you have in these two games?
I'm going to be frank, like you said. I'm just going to get them done both out of the way. The colors aren't going to match. The NFL Golden Boy is not making it. So you see the purple in there, but it's going to be some blue. It's going to be some purple and blue. The NFL doesn't want another Ravens-Niners game. They don't want that. We're going Ravens-Lions, and it's going to be fun. And that Niners game, I've gone so back and forth on that game because let's be honest, for those who watched, like it or not, Bears fans, the Packers outplayed them the entire game. And if the Packers had any half-decent kicker, they would be moving on right now. They absolutely outplayed him. Purdy, he's due for a couple bad games every year, like he was against the Browns, and for the majority of this game, it was awful as well. He hit a couple big time throws when he needed it the most, but he did not look good. And again, I don't think any defense can shut down CMC, but I think that Lions defense is going to do pretty well. I am a little bit concerned about the cornerbacks for the Lions. It scares me. Their pass defense isn't the best. But I'm going to go with the Lions in a close one, and I'm going to go with the Ravens in a not close one. So,
yeah, here's the thing, man. The 49ers had a scare last week, but that Packers defense was pretty decent around, all aspects of it. They're just a well-coached team when it boils down to it. However, when you look at the other side of it, right, Lamar's never seen the big stage before. It's huge. When he was drafted, he said that you're getting a Super Bowl out of me. That's what he promised Ravens fans. He's not getting it done this year. I don't care. I understand the Ravens are really good, but the thing is that the NFL's Golden Boy is going to end up making it. And I think it's complete and utter, BS. But the thing is that the Chiefs will find a way to win one way or another. It's ridiculous. And this is really going to solidify Mahomes as one of the greatest of all time. He's inching closer to Tom Brady. He just needs the rings to do it. That's what it is. That's what it boils down to. He's a great athletic quarterback. And at the end of the day, he's able to win no matter who he's with, despite the fact he didn't have a 1,000-yard receiver this year. So Chiefs are taking it, and it's hard to fight against the Lions as much as I want them to win. It's tough for me to root for an NFC division rival to go to the Super Bowl. I'll be honest with you. But this is more than just me rooting for an NFC division rival. This is me saying that NFC division rivals' pass defense is too weak to fight against the 49ers. I know Debo may or may not be playing, but the thing is, you've still got George Kittle, still got Brandon Ayuk. I expect CMC to, if he's not getting the rushing yards, he will be getting the receiving yards because he's a huge threat in that backfield, especially on screens in that Shanahan offense. And Purdy's going to solidify himself in the record books as a potential Super Bowl MVP and season MVP as well going into it as the 49ers take on the Chiefs in a Super Bowl rematch. That's what I got going on. What do we think?
Wow.
I think it's all right.
Well, I mean, for us to be tied even, we're going to have to pick differently on all the last 3 games, and you're going to have to hit them all. And not that that's what we're shooting for. I think it is funny and indicative of how the season has gone and how well the playoffs has gone that when it comes down to this, we've picked the complete opposite teams. So, I mean, it's good. I like it.
It's fun.
Yes.
So this next segment, essentially, it's just what we wanted to kind of fill time with just because we've got plenty of it right now.
Ooh.
There's only 2 games to talk about. So this isn't necessarily where we think coaches are going to go. This is as much as where we think it would be fun to see coaches go.
Oh, gosh.
Unfortunately, this is I don't have any notes for this, man. I just want this to be an open conversation between me and you. I don't know if you have it or something. If you do, that's fine. But for me, I'm just going to look at the head coaching vacancies and who's available. I'm not even going to bother discussing the Panthers just because they're just so bad of a team. By the way, called it. Everybody said that they'd be a fringe playoff team, and you guys can eat it. Anyways, so looking up at it, so I really do think I wanted to talk about Harbaugh so bad today. I really didn't want that move to happen today, just because one of the fits that I thought would be extremely fun for him would be the Seahawks. Given the fact that they're going to be in position to draft a quarterback in the first round. I think if they were to pick McCarthy at, 16 that the Seahawks are
16.
at, it'd be really, really fun. Despite the fact like Geno Smith's still in Seattle, so like he could take Geno as a starter and continue to develop him a little bit. Harbaugh would have to coach Jackson Smith and Jigba. That'd be a lot of fun for me, just because, rivalry and whatnot. But I mean, the Seahawks still have a solid foundation, and looking at it, it's Jim Harbaugh is a very fun coach for that, and but luckily for us, he did sign with a very fun coaching vacancy in the Chargers, so that's also okay. And if they end up getting that Romeo Dunze or Malik Neighbors fit, that'd be huge for that because Keenan Allen's getting up there in age, and that's exactly
getting up there in age. And Mike might be cut with how unhealthy he's been and how bad his contract is. I mean,
it's interesting. I mean, the thing is they've got a lot of cap space filled by just a couple players. Khalil Mack is another one of those players to watch this upcoming offseason for the Chargers as well. He is just ridiculously good. I don't see them cutting him. Maybe a restructure is on the horizon, but the Chargers are in a good spot. I think that they'll be fine with him. But Seahawks are my number 1 pick with Harbaugh if he was available. I just wanted to get that one out of the way. But do you have a fit that you want to talk about before I get to my next one?
No, the fun one was one we've kind of already talked about. Again, everyone at this point in the podcast knows how much I love Bobby. We're here for Bobby. He's no Ben Johnson, but he's pretty gosh darn close. But we'll do the Ben Johnson. And the way it's worked out, and again, it's the rumors that's going around the mill right now. Ben Johnson in with the Commanders is going to be a heck of fun, man, because you're going to stick him in there and you're going to see. And I do end up thinking it's going to be Drake May. I'd be really surprised if it was Jane Daniels. But you're going to stick him in there and you're going to say, go get your quarterback. Go and develop him, turn him into something. If you're the head, if you're the the offensive mastermind that everyone thinks you are, Mind you, not to be that guy, we all thought Arthur Smith was an offensive mastermind a couple of years ago. Besides the point, it's going to be fun, and I really like him if he ends up getting hired there, and if not, Bobby's the other name. Just any of those guys getting in there, being able to draft their young guy, their future, develop him, and really turn him into someone special is going to be a lot of fun. But then you also mentioned how fun it would have been to see JSN coach under the Michigan man himself. I mean, there's a chance, and I'm not going to steal this. I'm going to give the full credit to Matt because Matt's been the guy who's mocked it, and I haven't really seen it outside of Matt. There's a chance the Chargers trade up to number 3 if the Patriots say we like Jane Daniels and we feel like we can get Jane Daniels at 5. Well, then let's trade back. Let's collect an extra second, still get Jane Daniels, and then there's a chance that Harbaugh is going to have to coach Marv, and that's going to be really interesting too. So,
God, yeah, that'd be extremely interesting, and of course he'd want him because he knows how hard it is to scheme against him.
Yeah.
My number 2 fit belongs to the Falcons job, and this guy's already interviewed twice for this job. I want Vrabel as head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. We've already seen how he does with a power back, and you get that in Bijan Robinson. He's already, Derrick Henry was that guy for Vrabel. He's taken him to a playoff before, and you're in a very weak division to where Vrabel can go in and win, and he's proven that he could do that. It's a stupid firing by the Titans. And then you go and you go into an environment to where, you look at a potential trade for like a Justin Fields, or you look at, your free agents in this class, such as Baker Mayfield, who may or may not be locked down on a long-term contract. I'd like either one of those guys to be the next the next starting quarterback for the Falcons there. And, either way, I think Vrabel can win with either guy. And then if they get just like one more, wide receiver, they'd be deadly. I really do think that. You have that Drake London guy who's been slowly rising up. It's kind of been like it has been a slow rise for him. But nonetheless, I'm excited to see what Vrabel can do with a superstar tight end that just hasn't had his potential unlocked. And I think Vrabel can be the guy to do that for sure.
I mean, if we're going to talk about the Falcons, I'm going to be honest with you. The one that I really want to see the Falcons do, and we talked about it earlier, was Bill Belichick, just so we can strong arm Bill Belichick into having to coach Justin Fields into a quarterback that he just hasn't had to coach ever. I mean, he's had Drew Bledsoe, Tom Brady, and Mac Jones, McCorkle Jones. And really have to force him into coaching someone a type of archetype of quarterback we just never seen. And I think it'd be really, really fun to try to see him and I think he could wrap his mind around having to coach a dual threat mobile quarterback that isn't your pocket passer. And I think it'd be really, really fun. My only concern, and I don't think it's going to be what prevents it, because if the conversation comes down to the Falcons offering him the job, he's going to take it. But I really think no matter where he ends up going, unless it's the Falcons, Mike is going to want Arthur as his OC. Because we look back, like I said, 3 years ago in the hiring cycle, Arthur Smith was viewed the same way that Ben Johnson was. We like it or not, that's just the fact. He was viewed as this offensive mastermind. He was viewed as this offensive mastermind, and any team that's going to get him, it's going to be really, really good and whatnot. And that's how good. He was a good OC. So I could see Mike going somewhere and trying to get Arthur. And obviously, if he goes to Falcons, he's not going to get Arthur because they would be "There's no way you're bringing this guy back." But I wouldn't be surprised elsewhere, other than Atlanta, if it's Arthur that follows him. So
yeah. For sure. I do think that Bill Belichick going to the Seahawks sounds like a lot of fun, but I feel like the Seahawks would try to get a younger guy, and that's the whole reason why they fired Pete Carroll. They want to get a little bit younger, so it's kind of like a lateral move. But then again, this is not what we think is going to happen. This is just fun fits, and I think that Bill Belichick coaching the Seahawks sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, he's really big on those slot receivers and doing a lot with them, and JSN would skyrocket with that. I think that it would be a lot of fun. He's got Kenny Walker as well that could just explode as well, just because Bill Belichick's run game is really good as well. And that Seahawks defense, man, I mean, that secondary is going to be a lot of fun as well. So, looking in at that, I think that's another fun fit. But yeah, the more that I think about it, if you're talking about where we know people are going to go, I think that Ben Johnson might as well be as good as gone. I mean, the only reason why he's not a head coach of somebody is because the Lions are still in it. I think he's already secured that commander spot. I think it's just his. This is everything a new head coach wants. They've got a top 3 draft pick. They could trade up to 1 potentially, but I don't think they do. You have potential to get either Drake May or Jaden Daniels, or the one possibility people aren't talking about, what if they keep Sam Howell? I mean,
that'd be awful.
Be
that would be
mind,
malpractice. Right? That'd be worse.
Does sound bad.
That would be worse than the Bears keeping Flus. Like, I'm not kidding. If you have the 2nd overall pick and you're like, I'm not gonna, and we talk so much about like Caleb Williams and whatnot, but like Drake May is a very, very good prospect in his own right. So like Drake May would probably be QB1 in last year's class as well. Like, just point blank period. So for you to have the chance to take in most classes the #1 quarterback, and you're like, I'm gonna keep Sam Howell. Like, if Ben Johnson does that, he's fired. Like, he's fired on the spot. I don't care. Go find me someone new already.
Yeah. No, I get that for sure. But yeah, I mean, it's just a possibility that needs to be explored. You know what I mean? Nobody's talking about the fact that it's got a chance to happen. And who knows? But yeah, that's all that I have for it. I don't know about you, but that's pretty much what I've got for the fun head coaching fits. I don't even like.
That's about right. Yeah.
There's not a lot of people I could even consider for the Panthers just because they don't have that much going for them. That's really
hard. It's so hard.
Bad.
I will say, and I can't see this happening because he's already like last year Ben Johnson was getting head coaching offers and he turned them down. Point blank period. Ben Johnson was like, I want to come back to the Lions. So I couldn't see it happening. But Ben Johnson grew up 30 minutes outside of Charlotte. Ooh. And I'm not saying that he's going to be the head coach with the Panthers.
That'd be such an underwhelming headline.
It would be, but he gets to work with the #1 overall draft pick from last year. I mean, it was an underwhelming year, but going into it, I would say most people were a fan of Bryce Young, and a lot of people liked him. And we all know how you feel about Bryce Young, but I could see it happening. I'm not saying it will, but again, he grew up 30 minutes outside of Charlotte. He has connections. Right. I'm pretty sure he went to NC State or something like that. He went to college. He played college there in one of the Carolinas. So he has a whole lot of connections to Carolina in general, outside of football. And then you add on top of the fact that they do have the #1 overall pick from just a year ago. I wouldn't completely rule it out. I mean, it's that job compared to the Commander's job. I mean, outside of having being able to pick your quarterback, there's not much of a difference. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, that's so hard to say because being able to pick your quarterback is such a big perk. But just, so.
Pro football isn't the only game in town. Let's take a stroll to Ben's College Corner.
Here we go, man. What do you want to talk about this week?
Yeah, guys, I'm going to be honest. This is right around the time where we start seeing the switch kind of happen. And we switch away from College Corner. And then we go from College Corner to the draft. And if you guys have listened, I think it was 2 episodes ago, Ryan's really going to start getting into it. So here soon, once the season ends, we're going to really start getting into our positional breakdowns. Ryan is now going to be offering his top 5, top 10 guys, kind of depending on the position group and whatnot. Because some guys, I mean, if we want to talk about the top 10 quarterbacks, you go ahead. I'm not going to talk about the top 10 quarterbacks outside of 7. I would say it is not worth talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
But Ryan's going to be really adding his input this year now, which is going to be awesome. We love to see it. So right now we're going to probably start seeing the switch. There's not much college news at this point. Again, the only college news at this point would have been Jim, and then Bill O'Brien, Bob. Really if you guys keep hearing me say Bob, by the way, it's Yeah. Well, Bobby is Bobby Slowick, but when I say
Yeah.
Bob in reference to college, it's Bill O'Brien, B.O.B.
Oh, Bill, yeah.
But again, there's not much news outside of the gym stuff. I told you guys, I think it's gonna be Sharon Moore. Everyone's backing him up, and then the B.O.B. hire. And outside of that, there's not much, and there's not gonna be much until Michigan makes their official hire, which it will be Sharon Moore. Again, expect over the course of the next 2 or 3 weeks here some news about what we're going to do in terms of the draft, which I'm really excited to see how much we differ. I think we're going to see pretty close to eye in terms of the quarterback. JJ's the guy I'm looking forward to see where you place him. I know we had kind of an in-depth conversation about him in the group chat today. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what we do there. But I'm really interested to see.
I will say this is in terms of my positions and just between you and I expect my big board to change over time as well.
Oh yeah, they always
until
do.
the draft.
Oh yeah.
I'm just saying, like, especially as we get closer to the scouting combine, I know there's a couple dead weeks, and dead periods worth of, work before the scouting combine, after the Super Bowl, and but yeah, I don't know. Just look forward to that. I'm very excited to get to the scouting combine, though. We do have, I will say, I think there's going to be 2 other people besides just us, and Matt, going, because I believe Alec from last year will be there as well. If you guys watched on our TikTok, and then my girlfriend Caitlin will be there. As far as I know right now, his plans are set. It's as set in stone as it can be right now.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about that. She's worked pretty hard to get to this point to be a football nerd.
Yes.
Pretty happy about it. But yeah, no, I'm excited to get to I've already done, let's see, 3, almost 4 positions worth of
already. Wow. Holy cow. You're doing that quick.
Dude, I got a lot of free time. So, a lot of it's just watching a lot of film and seeing who I like. Just a little slight preview though. I'm having a lot of fun scouting the running backs now that I'm a running backs coach.
Really? It's interesting that you say that, because this year's running back class, I think we have the same Patreon. I don't want to put the Patreon out there. I think we watch our film through the same place. If you had the access to the 2023 class, this draft class, I would say, is one of the, I don't want to say worst draft class, but this draft class in terms of running backs is not quite up there with the other running backs. So I'm actually interested to see who your RB1 is going to be.
I will say this though, like, there's one guy, without fully exposing everything, because he's not my RB1. But like, there's one guy I'm having a lot of fun scouting, and it's Bucky Irving from Oregon.
Wow.
I really do like to watch his film so far. I haven't really done a lot. I kind of dove into him just a little bit last night, and then I started to kind of doze off, and I'm like, I'm not going to force myself to be awake right now. I just need to go to sleep. So, but yeah, that's a little bit of a preview for what's to come. But yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and dive into Weddle.
It's time for America's favorite game, Weddle.
Was there another point you wanted to get to? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I thought we were going to do one more segment before Weddle.
Oh, okay. My bad. Well, let's do Weddle real quick, and then we'll get that. Yeah, because we didn't do it last week. You know what I mean? I don't.
Well, we haven't been doing it we haven't done Weddle in a long time, it feels like. But if you're an Eagles fan, please stay one more segment after Weddle.
God, dude, they're really packing this thing full of ads. It's ridiculous.
I know. It's aggravating, and I'm sick of it.
I'm going to get rid of those.
I almost played today. I typed in AJ Brown, and I was like, wait, today's Wednesday. I'm all thrown off the days of the week, by the way, guys. It's awful.
Me too, though. Me too. Let's see. All right. Yeah, you could. Okay, cool. All right. Is this as far as you got, basically?
I'll go. Yep. I typed in AJ Brown. Well, I didn't even hit enter, but I would have said AJ Brown either. If you don't know who this is, I don't know what to tell you, Ryan.
It's got to be Smitty, right?
It's got to be Smitty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
also, like, I think it's pretty, like, obvious at this point. I, like, refer to Devontae Smith as Smitty, and, like, most people do. But if you guys ever hear me say Smitty, it's Devontae Smith. Like, I think that's clear. But, like, I was thinking about that today. So
It's either Smitty or the Heisman winner is what
or
we
the Heisman
normally
winner. That's
refer to
that's what
him
he is.
as. Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and get started with it. All right. I'll
I was gonna say I want to go second.
Gervin
So-
Dexter.
Pete Warner was quite the pull last time we played. I think was what it was. And it was like 4 weeks ago. It feels like.
Pretty good.
All right, a defensive player who's not young, at least. Maybe he's not old, but he's definitely not young. He's short, which makes me think he's not a defensive lineman. I mean, he could be a small edge. We'll go with Kevin Byard.
Okay.
Okay, so he's not short either. So,
okay, so
Linebacker.
not. I'm gonna go. Gonna go with Brian Burns. Okay.
right. So we're close now. He's a linebacker who has to play in the East, or not the East, in West.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. No, wait. Yeah, it is the West.
Yeah,
My
it's
bad.
the West. Linebacker that has to play in the West, who's like middle-aged, I guess. Like the easy answer is Kevin, or not Kevin. Oh my goodness, why am I blanking on his name now? The linebacker out of San Fran, but it's not going to be the linebacker out of San Fran.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. He's just the
You're
best
talking
linebacker.
Fred Warner.
Yeah, Fred. There it is. It's not. There's no way it's Fred, and if it's Fred, we're gonna have some issues, Weddle, with all the ads. And you throw Fred Warner, the best linebacker the last 5 years, on hard mode. I wonder if is there other linebacker. I don't know his name though, which is gonna suck. We're gonna go with Jordan Brooks. Jordan spelled weird, by the way, so I would just do Brooks, spelled with a Y. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
So
okay. He's 27.
Okay.
I don't know who their other linebacker. Like, I know who it is, but his name is
It is.
There's
Fred Warner.
no way. I'm fighting Weddle. I was gonna guess Greenlaw. That's awful.
All right. So I bring it back within
Congratulations.
10.
Awesome.
The score now is 32-22. So
I should have known Weddle, and I should have guessed Fred.
all right. Bring on your Eagles segment before we get to our throwback.
Before we get to our throwback, I'll try to make this one, guys, nice and quick for you guys because I gotta get off kind of soon here. Last week, 2 weeks ago, I can't remember at this point. I kind of threw together a plan to fix, or an off-season plan. Obviously, this is all in a perfect world. Yep, this is all in a perfect world to fix the Bears. I try to be pretty reasonable with it. I'm not like giving out like these super unrealistic contracts and whatnot. So it's gonna be the Eagles offseason this time. This is gonna be my perfect offseason. My perfect offseason, as Ryan has covered at the very top, we got rid of both of our OC and DC. So we're in the market for both of them. I personally do want to do who's done it before. Because like someone like Vic, who we're gonna throw in at DC, we know he's not gonna get hired somewhere else. He's either gonna be good and he's gonna stay here, or he's gonna be bad and we're gonna fire our entire coaching staff anyways. So I like that it's a little bit an older guy. We don't have to worry about him being poached, kind of like what happened with Jonathan Gannon. So Vic's the dude I'm looking at. And if it's not Vic, I'm looking at Denard Wilson, who was our DB coach last year, who was the runner-up to get the DC job, who's now the DB coach for the Ravens. He's a young guy. Or I'm going to slaughter the name Ajaro Evero. I know the last name is Evero. He was the DC there with the Broncos, and now he is the DC, or was the DC with the Panthers. He's one of the better DCs in the league. He's getting head coaching interviews with the Falcons. He actually already had a second. So he's even a name to watch there. That's who I like. That's the dream. I want Evero. He's a dude who's been there. He runs a 3-4. I really, really want a 3-4. Like, words cannot describe how much I want a 3-4, especially with Jordan Davis. And then as far as OC goes, again, I want someone who has experience. I want EB, Eric Bieniemy. If we can't get him, I want Zach Robinson. He's been the hot name that's been floating around, the hot young coordinator that everyone kind of wants. So if we go the young route, Zach Robinson is the guy that I want. In terms of the actual moves we're making, if I'm sitting Howie Roseman in terms of players, we're going to cut James Bradbury. As I said, he has no place on this team anymore. With how bad he's playing, he's gone. You're going to have to eat a lot of dead cap, and I do not care. You're going to sign him to a post-June first cut, which means we're not going to have to eat up as much dead cap. That's going to clear $4 million in cap space. And then as hyped as I was for Kevin Byard, he was average at best. He is not worth what he's getting paid, at least in this Eagles scheme. So we're going to cut him as well, but we're just going to plain old cut him. That's going to open up $12 million in cap space. So that allows us to go into the offseason with $36 million in cap space. And then we're going to restructure A.J. Brown, and we're going to restructure Lane Johnson. All we're going to do is offer more money up front. It's going to be like a signing bonus. And that allows us to open up more cap. So they get their money now, and we have more cap. So we're going to be looking somewhere around $40 to $45 million of cap after restructuring AJB, Lane, and then cutting James and Byard. And we're going to open it up, and we are going to get our CB, guys. We are going to get L'Jarius Sneed. We're going to give him $17.5 million. That's right around what I said Jalen Johnson's going to get. And like I said, I'm going to overpay for him a little bit. He's not quite what Jalen Johnson is. I'd rather have Jalen Johnson, but we're going to have to overpay to get our cornerback, and I'm okay with giving L'Jarius Sneed $17.5 million. Dude played out of his mind this past year. And then we're going to get us a safety. Like I said, we need safeties if we're going to be playing that Fangio defense. Reed was the only dude who was consistent on this team. I'm going to be quite honest with you guys at safety. So he's safe, but we're going to need another cornerback alongside him. We're going to get Cameron Curl. And by the way, the L'Jarius Sneed deal was 4 years. So that's going to be 17.5 per 70 in total. As far as L'Jarius Sneed goes, we're going to give him $70 million, and we are going to be paying $42 million in total. It's a 4-year for Cameron Curl. One of the most underrated guys on the defense. People don't talk about Cameron Curl, but he's played great. And then the other big point that I said, if we're going to be running the Fangio defense, is we need linebackers. And I haven't seen good linebacker play since Jordan Hicks has left. Jordan Hicks is old. As fun as it would be to see him back in an Eagles uniform, he's old. He's not the dude we're looking at. We're going to look at Azeez Al-Shaair. He played with the Niners, put up some pretty good stats. He signed a 1-year contract with the Titans this past year. He had like 80 tackles this year. He's played really well. He signed a 1-year for $5 million. I think he outplayed his contract. So we're going to give him a 3-year. We're going to give him a 3-year, 6 per. Awesome. Get us all a better linebacker. And that leaves us around $6 to $7 million left. The one more spot we're going to have to find is going to be a guard. I'm not going to want to dig into guards and who's a free agent and the contract we're going to pay. And then the last move I'm going to make is we're going to trade Avonte Maddox, one of the better slot corners in all of football. I think he's making like the third most of any slot corner. He's absolutely worth it. He's just hurt all the time. So we're going to trade Avonte Maddox. We're going to clear another $3 million in cap space doing that. We're going to get Bo Melton, a dude who's in the Packers offense. He's clearly their wide receiver 5, but he absolutely plays better than a wide receiver 5. He's going to come here and he's going to be our wide receiver 3. And in terms of the draft, we're going to get Kool-Aid at 22. We're going to get Trotter to finish out our linebacker core at 50. Now we have an opening at our slot. I got to get my Michigan boy, Mike Sanders still. If you guys have not watched him, you guys have to watch him. He is so much fun. He's a name that you guys might not know much about, but I guarantee you guys he's going to be selected in the first 2 rounds. He is so much fun to watch. Anyone in the NFL is going to want him on their team. And then we're going to get our running back of the future. As you guys noticed, we did not re-sign Swift to a contract, so we're going to select Breland Allen at 97. So as far as our offensive roster is going to go, we're keeping Hurts. He's going to have an MVP caliber year. I'll tell you this. He'll finish top 5 in voting this year. Book it, Ryan.
Wow.
And then our offense is going to stay mostly the same. A.J. Brown and Smitty. And then we're going to have Bo Melton as our wide receiver 3, and then Dallas Goedert at our tight end. Offensive line's mostly the same. Jordan Mailata, Tyler Steen, Beef Jurgens. We have that open spot there at guard. Like I said, we have about $6 to $7 million to play with. And then Lane Johnson back at our right tackle. So our offensive line is going to be just fine. And then Breland Allen is going to be our running back. So there's not much of a change there on offense outside of wide receiver 3 and a running back. And defense is where we see a change. The problem was never the defensive line. Defensive line is going to stay the exact same. It's going to be Sweat, Carter, Jordan Davis, and Hassan Reddick. Awesome defensive line. And then our linebacker core is going to be 2 completely new guys. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes. It's going to be Aziz, who we just spent $5 to $6 million on, and Trotter, the guy we just drafted in the second round. As far as our secondary goes, and this puts a smile to my face, absolutely revamped. Mikey Sanderson, he's going to be a rookie, but he's going to be our slot, and he's going to play great. And we can't say, look at, and I'm not saying he's the same type, but slot cornerbacks can get it done in their rookie year. Devin has looked awesome. Devin Witherspoon has looked awesome. And Brian Branch has looked awesome. So let's not say that they can't get it done. So he's going to play our slot. And then Slay and Snead are going to be our 2 outside cornerbacks. And then Kool-Aid's going to be rotating it. Kool-Aid and Ringo. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then back there at our cornerbacks, or at our deep safeties, it's going to be Blankenship and Curl. I get so excited looking at this. Obviously, this isn't going to happen. This is the perfect world. But this defense is revamped. Like I said, the back 7 is going to need a whole new facelift. And we absolutely did that with this. And the offense was never the issue. The only issue with the offense was the play caller. So the offense is going to stay the same. We just got a new play caller. So I'm pumped to see that. Obviously, it's not going to happen, but that's what we'd like to see. So
yeah. Let's go ahead and move on really quick, just because I know you have to go. This is a segment we haven't done in a while, so this is for our OG listeners.
What's the name of the segment? Oh, you're not talking about Ryan and Ben? Oh, okay. Well, hold on. I've got it. It's time for Gridiron Goofs.
All right. So, Ben, you have no idea what the topic is. I haven't told you at all, just because I didn't know if we'd have time or not. Nostalgic mobile games. So games that you had played on a phone or on an iPod if you had one as a kid, or something, but strictly something that you could play on a mobile device, not including Game Boy or DS or anything like that, but mobile phone games. We're only going to have time for about 3 games each.
3 games each? I could totally do 5, I think.
5? Oh, okay, cool. Yeah,
why not?
All right, no problem. So, Ben, I'll let you have first pick, just because I'm a nice guy. Whatever.
See, there's so many options you could go with. I'm going to go with the absolute classic. We're going to go Subway Surfers. There's so many options I could go with, and we will absolutely get into it, believe me. But yeah, Subway Surfers 101, easy.
I'm going Jetpack Joyride.
Jetpack Joyride was the other one I was thinking about, man.
Yeah, Jetpack Joyride, definitely an instant classic. You knew it was going to be good when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
What's your 2?
Exactly. This is where it gets really interesting, because those are I would say the clear top 2. If we're going strictly nostalgia purposes, I think I got to take Angry Birds here.
Angry Birds, nice.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna go with a bird that makes me angry. I'm going Flappy Bird.
Flappy Bird was gonna be my other option there. You don't know how happy it makes me that we are all on the same page. Number 3, and this I'm saying we could totally do 5. Number 3 is where it gets. Jeez, there's so many options, dude. What do I do? I go classic, or do I go with a new classic? We're gonna go with the classic. We're gonna go Fruit Ninja.
Fruit Ninja, nice. I'm gonna go with. Let's see. I'm going to go with Where's My Water.
Okay.
I remember seeing the ads all over the place and everything like that. I remember Disney sponsored them as well. Just finding out where to put the water so that the alligator could have his shower. So it's nice. This is where it gets a little bit difficult for me, I'll be honest with you.
There's so many other ways. Again, if we're gonna go with just like the straight up classics, I'm really hoping you will take one of my next two off the board, so I don't have to make a tough decision. But we're going Doodle Jump.
Doodle Jump. I forgot about Doodle Jump. Yeah.
Ah,
Okay. Let's see. Oh man. See this one.
I know where I'm going. If you don't take it here, it's tough for me, but I know where I'm going.
Ooh, I can't believe I left this one out. Give me Temple Run.
Oh my gosh! And there's Plants. I completely forgot about Temple Run. And there's Plants vs Zombies. And there's Geo Run. And there's like that little guy who has like the little monster dinosaur dude. You got to get the candy in his mouth. Golly, man. Dude, there's so many options here. I mean, if we're going long, and this is my pick, if we're going longevity, I mean, Clash of Clans. I mean, that's the way to go. Clash of Clans longevity.
That's what I was thinking. The game's been around
forever. I'm deciding between that one or a new classic, and the peak of this game is unrivaled. And I haven't played it so long. I'm debating about not doing this because you can play this game on console and PC and everything as well. Can we include those or no? Because this is like it was a mobile game first, and it got.
I'll allow it. I'll allow it because of my next pick. I'll allow it.
All right. I wonder if we're going to be thinking the same thing here. I'm going Among Us.
Okay.
The peak of that game, as much as it wasn't my favorite game, I didn't play it often. The peak of that game is absolutely unrivaled. Everyone was playing that game. There was not a person that was not playing that game. We're going there. But I was deciding between Clash of Clans. I really if it was up to me, I would have taken Clash of Clans. But the peak of Among Us is too hard to pass up in the 10 slot.
This one, you can no longer play. This one is a completely different game than what is out currently. There was once a time in which you could play Madden Ultimate Team on your phone. And so I'm going to take the OG Madden Mobile because now it's different. Now it's weird but like before you didn't have to pay for anything to be good. It would always just be an ever so rotating. There's never like a Madden 12 or 13 or 14. It was always just Madden Mobile. And it would just update itself as the rosters changed and whatnot. And it was just absolutely amazing. That was the golden era of Madden Mobile. And there will never be another one as long as, they don't update it. So it's different. But do you remember when Fortnite was on the phone? Like, I know like you could play that on systems and stuff. I remember when it got, you're not a big Fortnite guy. I forgot.
No.
But that was huge for me.
Cut the rope. That's what
Cut the rope was fun. I was going to say like the paper toss where you would toss it into like the bin or something. And there was that fan that rotated. Yeah.
It was good. So many again, Geometry Dash, Plants vs. Zombies, Cut the Rope 1 and 2. The basketball hoop one.
We already caught on fire.
Candy Crush. I never played that. It was always like the older people played that. Like even Candy Crush, like 2048. Like there's so many games that could have absolutely been on this list. I mean, this is just
our top 10.
Oh my goodness, yeah, it's top. I could have done top 20 or like Plague Inc. You ever played Plague Inc., bro?
I don't think so.
Gosh.
Oh yeah, I have. Yeah, I thought like Inc. as in like INK. It was awesome.
No, like incorporated. It was wild. What a time to be alive.
It was great. Yeah, our childhood really was pretty decent. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the 99th installment of the Pigskin Project. If you're watching and you are brand new, please follow us on all of our platforms so we can keep making this content for you guys. We're having a blast doing it, and we're going to be keeping on with the great content as well, just because we've got a lot to look forward to. The Scouting Combine is official. We will be going and, sitting through as many days as we can. And giving you guys complete analysis on our TikTok page as well as the podcast if we get a chance to do that as well. So Please give us a follow on that. If you guys want more NFL content as well, enjoy the conference championships. And Ben, you got any other closing comments before I close this guy off?
No, I mean you covered it. We're like I said in the college corner stuff. Just keep an eye out. It's draft time now, especially for the both of us. There's definitely going to be some draft content in terms of big boards and who we like and rankings and whatnot coming out on our TikTok as well. So keep an eye out for that stuff as we start getting into the draft season.
We promise for anybody listening that when it is quote unquote the dead period of the NFL, we will have as much football nerdy content as much as you want to keep that fire alive, so that when this next season starts up, you're going to be even more amped up for it. So stay right here. Sure. This is exactly where all that content is going to be coming from. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, etc. And thank you for listening. We want to thank Spotify for Podcasters, Regional Radio Sports Network, and Uppercuts Grooming for helping us grow as a podcast. And until next time, this has been the Pigskin Project.